Actually, I'll just leave that there. That wasn't.
You know what? I feel so much more relaxed here than the first episode. The first episode, I was like, the introduction. Makasih. Okay.
Look at you with your Indonesian.
Oh, bro, do you know what it is?
You just spam Makasih.
Honestly, like, I try my best to learn the language wherever I am. So in Thailand was the same.
You just keep saying, what's thanks in Thai?
Kop kun kap. Kop kun kap. So like in Thailand, you've got masculine and feminine. So if you're, a woman,
they do that like
yeah,
Europe.
they do. So kop kun kap would be the masculine way to say it, and kop kun ka
is the
feminine way. And you basically, let's say you're saying good morning, sawadee kap.
Yeah, sadaka. I remember that. Yeah. Sadaka.
Sawadee kap. And that was as far as I got, mate. And now
Sadaka, Lachlan Beng. What is it? Fucking Beng Chai Bar or something. That's like my name is.
Yeah,
Lachlan.
Beng Chang Ali.
Yeah.
Beng Chun Ali. I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
It's a complicated language. Let's put it this way.
When I feel like every time I go to a country, my fucking tolerance for it is like high first off, and then after it's like,
yeah,
for a few weeks I'm like, nah, hello, just speaking.
It's difficult, bro.
Just fucking super Australian. I'm like, you've got to get on my level.
Especially if you, do you know what it is, bro? Especially if you're not like gonna stay in the country.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I know that I'm going to be in Indonesia for a very long time, and I know I'm going to be speaking Balinese or
Yeah.
Indonesian for a long time. So I'm making the effort to
learn
so like,
it.
like going to Thailand. I made an effort to a certain point, and then like 6 weeks in, when I knew like in 2 weeks' time I was leaving, I was like,
Nah, just revert back to English.
I was like, fuck it, thank you,
Yeah.
please. So yeah, right, okay, let's fucking go. Welcome back to the Physique podcast, my people. So we're back in the studio, episode 2 in the studio, and today we are joined by an online coach from Australia. I'm actually gathering the Australians on the podcast. This is the second Australian, second coach from Australia. Are you from Sydney as well?
Yeah.
Fuck me. So 2 people from Sydney, okay? I'm double bubble, mate. I'm getting all of them in. So this is just going to be a podcast full of Australians. So we've got Lachlan here, who's an online coach, diabetic-focused online coach, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's it.
So we're going to talk about this, and we're going to go through Lachlan's story. Obviously, you've been living in Bali now for how long?
About 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not long.
So not long.
No, we're technically holidaying still, quote unquote, but we'll be
Okay.
back. We'll be back. Then we'll be living here. Yeah, but at the moment, 6 week holiday, long holiday.
Is this the first time you came to Bali?
No, I was here for like 4 months at the end of last year.
Well, you did a very similar thing to me then.
Yeah.
So I did 3 months last year.
Yeah.
And then went back to the UK. So what happened last year? So you went from Sydney to Bali for 4 months?
No, I went to Sydney. I went from Sydney to Amsterdam.
Huh?
Yeah.
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Right, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
So you went from Sydney to Amsterdam last year.
Yeah.
So how did you go from Amsterdam to Bali? I'm presuming that's what happened.
Kind of, yeah. Like, so I did the standard Australian that's never been to Europe sort of little Europe trip, but it wasn't little. I was there for like 3.5, 4 months in total. So I did a month in Amsterdam by myself.
A month in Amsterdam by yourself. This is cracking shit. Honestly, let's keep this going.
Yeah, so a month in Amsterdam by myself. Mind you, like it was quite tame, because I had a missus and everything at the time. It was quite grounded, but
Oh, so you went by yourself, but you had a missus at the time?
yeah, she was on comp prep at the time. So I was like, I wasn't there for that.
I get what you mean, though, because I had a very similar situation with Estee. So
Yeah.
like, I left Bali to come back to the UK. She stayed in Bali because, mate, at that point, it's not really a relationship. It's more like companionship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get it, bro.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You were basically on the flip side of... So I was like the reverse. I was
You were the one prepping, yeah.
And you were Estee in the situation, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, it's not really a relationship.
Nah.
So I actually want to understand how it feels like from a male's point of view there. Because obviously I know it from the preppy, so from someone who's prepping. How does it feel like being on the other side? Because being the man in the relationship and then having your partner who's the girl prepping, how does that work?
It was
How's that?
well, fuck, you know what women are like. Like,
Yeah.
they're pretty temperamental as it is
Yeah,
anyways.
at the best of times.
Yeah.
I got a good one, can I say?
I do just want to flag
I got a good
that.
one. But generically speaking, yes.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like, it's like that, but obviously instead of it being kind of like a once a month sort of a thing, it was kind of
consistent.
Yeah.
Shit.
And obviously the further you get into a deficit, the less calories she had.
That's mad, you know.
Yeah.
Because do you know what? For me, it was never like getting angry. It was like, just leave me alone. Was it like that? Or was it like fisticuffs?
Nah, it was definitely not fisticuffs.
Yeah.
I mean...
Because I never know, bro. That's why I'm interested.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, bro. You hear some mad stories, bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
I mean, when I
UK.
did my prep, I hated people.
Yeah.
So...
It's different, right, for everybody. Everybody deals with it in their own little way, you know? And again, I think if you're naturally a very angry person, I'm not saying you are, but like a lot of people, they just get easily agitated and get angrier quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like so laid back, I'm horizontal when it comes to prep. I just don't want to be interacted with and bothered.
Yeah.
So, right, let's go back to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So you're in Amsterdam for a month.
Yeah. So I subletted a place when I was there, but I basically just used that as like a little bit of a hub to sort of travel around.
Like a base, yeah.
Yeah, like not obviously for too long, because like what I was doing in a month's time, waiting for basically all of my mates to come over from Australia. Then we travelled around for like 5 weeks, just under 5 weeks, and then they all fucked off. And my missus at the time, she came over, and then we did like another 5 weeks together.
In Amsterdam?
No, not in Amsterdam, just all around.
Yeah.
So basically, I did like about 4 weeks, give or take, not just in Amsterdam, but obviously like lots of the Netherlands and like down to Belgium and and France a little bit. And then like when my mates came over, kind of did everywhere. So I flew from Amsterdam to the UK. I basically bought the ticket like 3 hours before the flight.
Yeah.
And cost me an arm and a leg considering it's a 1 hour flight, which was so stupid. But went to the UK, then did like, you know, obviously little bits of England, straight up to Edinburgh, Scotland, and then just kind of bounced around from there.
How did you find England? I have a lot of conversations with people from Australia, and there seems to be an awful lot of similarities between Australia and the UK. Would you be able to back that up?
I mean, like, yes and no.
Apart from the weather, can we just say the weather in the UK is fucking awful?
I mean, that was probably the big thing for me. Like, we were in peak summer and it was like 21 and spitting down rain half the time I was there.
Congratulations, welcome to England.
Yeah. But I don't know, like, you know, I feel like being in Australia, so many people from the UK come to Australia, and then also being Australian, you notice that so many people from Australia go to the UK. So it's like we're just kind of chopping and changing.
Yeah, swapping places.
Yeah, everyone in the UK wants to be an Australian. Everyone in Australia wants to be in the UK.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's no reason to go to the UK.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know why either. It's
weird, isn't it?
It's never really appealed.
You've been now.
Yeah,
you understand like why you don't know why people go there.
Yeah, no.
I don't know why people go to the UK because I lived there my whole life.
Yeah.
And I look at it and go, I couldn't wait to like organise my life so that I could leave.
Yeah.
So the fact that people are going from Australia to UK baffles me.
Yeah.
Because you've got a pretty similar setup, like government-wise, healthcare-wise, like access to certain food-wise with Australia, but you just haven't got the weather.
Yeah.
And the weather's such a big thing.
Yeah.
You know? So you went to the UK, then how did you end up in Bali?
Pretty much kind of got to the end of the trip with my missus at the time.
Yeah.
And just blew through so much money. My intention was originally to stay in Europe for like another couple months.
Wow.
But I was kind of, when it came to like crunching the numbers and doing a little bit of budgeting, I sort of figured that it almost wasn't going to be as viable as I thought it was, like especially with the price that I wanted to go back to Amsterdam, and it's like one of the most expensive cities in the world. And there was like no compromise for me really. Like I didn't really know where else in Europe I was going to kind of settle or where I wanted to settle, let alone had actually looked into everything.
Like genuinely having a place where you can call home for like at least like 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the big thing was, as well, being a diabetic, like at the time, that was like my first time basically traveling a lot by myself. So like there's a little bit of health anxiety that was kind of playing in the background. And the Netherlands obviously has quite good healthcare, and they've got like a reciprocative healthcare relationship with Australia. So it was kind of like easy to get into the healthcare system.
Yeah.
I'd already read lots about it.
Interesting.
So then from there, like I was never going to go home, but I was like, fuck, you know, where to? It was going to be somewhere in Southeast Asia. And like I hadn't been to Bali for about 4 years until last year. So I was like, why not? Like, why not do Bali?
You went from Amsterdam to Bali.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was like, yeah, 7.
That is not your convenient route to Bali.
Nah, definitely not.
Or conventional, shall I say?
Nah. I think
I can't imagine there's many flights going from Amsterdam to Bali.
I had a really random, so I went through China.
What?
Yeah.
You went through China?
Yeah, I went through China.
What the fuck is that?
To come here.
Hang on a minute. So you've got to go what? So Netherlands is like middle of Europe, let's say Central Europe. And you've gone then to China, Shanghai.
Yeah, nah, not Shanghai. I can't even remember the name of the
Beijing?
place. Nah, like it.
I don't know how many.
I wanted to say. I wanted to say.
In the middle of fucking
I wanted to say Szechuan, but that's not a thing. I think it's like Zhangjiao.
So you've had to go there and then come down, essentially.
Yeah.
That's a very unorthodox route.
I mean,
I've only ever done
the route was unorthodox enough, but the whole experience. I'd never been to China. Obviously, it's not really somewhere that's ever been on my bucket list to go either. That was an experience.
How long was you there?
4 hours.
Oh.
And that was an experience.
Was that enough?
Yeah.
Was that enough China for you?
Never again, honestly.
Oh, shit.
Like
I've never thought about going to China either.
Just the whole process. I think I got my bag scanned 5 times, my boarding pass stamped about 4 or 5 times, and obviously, like I have stuff in my bag that can't actually go through the X-ray machine.
Bro, I'd get fucked. I had a mini pharmacy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a little bit of stuff, and I was like, I don't know what the laws in China are like. And I'm like, every time this bag's going through, I'm like, just doing a little sign of the cross. Like, I'm not even that religious, but I'm like, at the moment, I will be.
Yeah. I had the exact same situation coming from here this year, from Dong Mueng in Bangkok.
Yeah.
I've never had my big suitcase go through the X-ray scanner. So it goes through the X-ray scanner, right? And I'm there. My stomach is falling out my arsehole at this point. Yeah. I'm like, I've legit got a mini pharmacy in this suitcase right now.
Yeah.
Like literally 7 hours, 8 hours before, I'd gone to a pharmacy to pick up loads of shit. Growth hormone, peptides, blah, 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 the lot. So I've got that, then some of the stuff that I've got from the UK already in the fucking suitcase.
Yeah.
They put it through, and they goes, we have a problem. And I was like, oh my God, I'm fucked. I'm not going to Bali. And then like, within a split second, he was like, oh, no problem. I was like, oh my God, what a fucking experience. That was the first and last time I ever want my big luggage going through an X-ray scanner. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't need that.
It's way too much
Don't need that, bro.
No.
But I also need my testosterone and stuff like that. So it's a good trade-off, mate. So.
Yeah.
So you're in Shanghai, and then you go to Bali. So this is all last year, right?
Yeah.
So Bali was, you've already been to Bali 4 years ago. It's a very interesting thing I want to ask you, because I've experienced such a change already in the last 8 months since I was here. How much did it change from 4 years ago to the time you went last year?
Well, probably a fair bit, but I think the big thing too is like how much I changed in that 4 years too. So like the last time I was here was just like, it's a cheap holiday destination for Australians.
Yes.
And I was 18 at the time. So
Party central sort of thing.
All our objective was just to get pissed and take prescription drugs.
Get as much pussy as you can.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get pissed and smash birds.
Yeah.
Which is also very possible in Bali. If anyone's single coming in. I mean, I can't tell you, but this is why Lachlan's here.
Exactly.
I'll give us a very good insight to single life into Bali.
I'll tell you, don't worry.
We're going to touch upon that.
I was down in Seminyak though, because like I didn't even know what Canggu was.
Yeah, Seminyak's very busy now.
Yeah. Like too busy.
Yeah, I've actively stayed away from Seminyak and Canggu this time around. That's why we've come more towards like Tumbak Bayou area.
I'm not gonna lie, I know where that is, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know where most of the spots are, unless it's like Seminyak, Kuta, Canggu, and then
you've got Seminyak, you've got Kuta, you've got Canggu, you've got Denpasar, and then if you go to the gym, you're gonna know where Perennian is, and after that, brother, you've got other places that I only know now because I've been having conversations with locals. Had I not had the conversation with locals, mate, I wouldn't know where Sese is, Chamagi, fucking all that shit. No idea, mate. Yeah. There's so many different districts. Yeah. And the problem is, like, a lot of people think Canggu is like one road. It's not. It's like a entire district. And it's like, bro, trying to understand that is just, fuck it. Just know where you're living in roughly. The road.
Pretty much just say Canggu.
And that's it. So, and then as long as you're like within 5 minutes, maybe I'd say 2.5 kilometers away from the gyms, you're in a good spot. Yeah. Because a lot of people will wonder and listening to this, where shall I go? If you want to actually feel like you're living in Bali, don't go Canggu. Because Canggu's Western now. It's like they've tried to bring America, Australia, UK to Bali. And fair enough, it does bits. Makes money, but it doesn't feel like Bali anymore, right?
Yeah, it feels more like Russia.
Exactly. Russia, fucking filled with expats trying to just pump money into Bali, which is fair enough. You do you, man. It's your gift. Yeah. But like for me, I was like, this ain't Bali anymore. So I was like, I want to try and come a little bit further out and just get the X Max, pump it down the fucking long road, and then you're good to go, bro.
Well, yeah, last time I was here, I stayed in Barbells, which is like the spot behind Changu's.
I've been told that that's a really good spot.
Yeah, well, it is just, it's because it's at the end of the day, it's one road.
It's one road over.
Down onto, Batu Belong or whatever the fuck they call it.
Is it, yeah, so you got Batu Belong Road, and then you going up that road.
Yeah. So past that, like the main set of lights,
Yeah.
I think I was like if I wanted to go to the beach, it was like a 10, 11-minute scooter from mine to the beach.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's still not that far, you know what I mean? But it also just means that you're out of the fucking hustle and bustle when you want to be.
100%.
Like, even just, like, trying to fucking sleep. I remember the first month I was here, I stayed, like, basically halfway up the road, halfway up Batu Belong, more or less. But it was down, like, tucked away in, like, a nice little, like, rice paddy sort of excluded, but still, like, even just, like, getting back up there, on a Friday or a Saturday night, like, you got to go through so many dickheads in that road.
Yeah, it's congested, bro.
Oh, mate.
And the thing is with Bali, the way that the infrastructure's set up, it's like the roads aren't really going to hold that many bikes at one time, so like it gets clogged up quite quickly.
Oh yeah.
And that's I would say, if anyone is wondering like how the traffic situation is in Bali, when there's no traffic, it's amazing. But like, you don't need many bikes, you don't need many cars for there to be traffic, and that's the only thing I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, I literally experienced it coming to the studio.
Yeah.
I've bombed down that Perennium Road so many times, bro. All it took was one digger and one car, chock-a-block, bro. One digger, one car.
Yeah.
And that was it. We're all fucked.
Yeah. Like they have the little like restaurants on wheels, the Baksos.
Yeah, the Baksos.
As soon as there's one Bakso on like Batu Belong or something like that, then
you're
like,
done, mate.
Because the thing is here too, like
you don't want to go around
if
it.
you've never been to Bali, like I guess the one thing that I take for granted being back at home is just spatial awareness. Like when I'm in my car, I know how big my car is. It's 100%. Like the people here obviously just for lack of whatever education, or they just don't have much common sense. I don't know, without being rude.
Bro, be rude. People come here, bro. They get on a scooter for the first time and they ain't got fucking Scooby.
Well, but then also like you get the locals in the cars, and it's like there's like 2 car spaces worth of room for them to go around something, but they think that they're driving like an 18-wheeler, and it's like, mate, like give me the fucking car keys and I'll drive the thing around. Like fucking jeez.
Yeah. So that's the traffic situation, right? Well, if you have any more questions about Bali, please let me know and I'll go through everything in a little more detail. But right now, right? So we're into last year.
We're into Bali.
We're in Bali.
Yeah.
You have the girlfriend with you?
Nah, she went home. So I was
here.
I was here for 1 month, start of September till October by myself, again. And then she came over in early October, for a month. And then she went back home, and I was here for another month and a half, ish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you're no longer together?
No.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised from a point of view of like, there's not really an awful lot of contact time going on there.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean?
Nah. Yeah.
And like, I'll be honest with you.
We won't get into that one too much.
No, we're not going to get into it. It's like, I'm just not surprised. Like, I don't know too much about the situation. I don't really need to know.
Yeah.
But like, if you spend extended periods of time away from each other, somebody at some point is going to be like, yeah, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah.
So now you're single, right? If anyone likes Lachlan, just slide into the DMs pretty much. Like, he's good to go. Do you know what I mean? Or just find him at the local Faded Studio barbers.
Yeah, come and have a chat.
Come and have a chat at Beige. And you can literally have a little chinwag whilst he's getting his beard done. Do you know what I mean? He's been there twice today. So any girls listening to this, like, fucking come on, go down to Faded Studio.
I don't even actually get my hair cut. I just sit in there half the day.
Yeah, literally, like, if he just wants a coffee and come sit down, he'll just sit there, have a little nose about.
Yeah.
You listen to the coffee man come, coffee.
Yeah, fuck, he loves that, eh?
He does, mate. But I love it. It's character. That's why I love Bali, mate, because a lot of people just come here, try and keep themselves to themselves, but you want to embrace yourself in the culture, mate.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why I picked Bali. I've been to a lot of places like Dubai. I've travelled Europe, Thailand. And Bali was one that stuck out for me in terms of how I can operate as a coach. And we're going to talk about that. So obviously you do the online coaching.
Yeah.
Why online coaching? Run me through that. So how did you get into it? How did you fall in love with it?
To kind of pull it back a fair bit, but not kind of elaborate too much. I wanted to do physio first off. That was my long-term goal when I was younger, because I used to be a runner.
Me too.
And spent most of my time.
I wasn't a runner, by the way.
That's right.
I wanted to do physiotherapy.
But I spent most of my time in the physio because I was always injured. So
Yeah.
I think I just spent so much time with physios that I was like, I kind of want to do that. You know,
You had that exposure.
Yeah, I want to help people kind of recover from injuries and whatnot. So then I didn't really take school too seriously up until like the last year, which is obviously the most important. I think obviously fucking most countries, to be honest. But kind of knuckled down. I think that's when I figured out I had a bit of a brain in between my ears as well, like because I'd never actually applied myself. And then
100%.
went all right, but didn't go well enough to get straight into physio at uni. And basically was going to do like the long way to get in there. So I did like exercise and sports science at uni. Yeah. Got my exercise scientist accreditation, which just sounds cool, but really all I am is like an overqualified PT. Mm-hmm. And
qualifications, by the way. Qualifications are PT qualifications waste time.
Oh yeah, it's garbage.
Bro, garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. Anyway.
Any of the Balinese people here could do a fucking Cert 3, Cert 4 in the matter of 6 months if they wanted to. But yeah, did that and then basically started getting into PT, but initially like straight out of the gates, all I did was injury rehab. So I was working at a strength rehabilitation center, basically just like a boutique gym.
Yeah.
And the guy that I was being mentored under, he was a physio. So I was kind of like working alongside him with his clients, and then he'd palm me off a few like old clients and everything. But it was just, at the time, it was nice because I was doing what I thought I wanted to do, but it was really repetitive. Having like the same people come through the doors, always old people, and then old people know old people that have exactly the same problems, and
so similar.
You know, you're having a good yarn with them every time they come through, but like you're like, fuck, you can only do so many lower back injuries and tell people to sit down and to stand up, obviously because they're old. You know, you're not getting them to do anything hectic, and I just got over it really quick. So then I left that gym and I went into a commercial gym because I just wanted to kind of help more people. But like at the time, my niche was like injury rehab. Like I wanted to be the go-to guy. Like if you, instead of going to see a physio, like you could have a PT, and then at the same time you specialized in injury rehab. Yeah. So I did that for like a few months, 6 months. And then it just, I think ever since that point, about 6 months after when I first started in a commercial gym, it was just kind of like, I want to do more. Like I want to offer more, you know? Not only obviously to charge a little bit more, but then also just to kind of be able to learn a little bit more. And then I feel like there was always just like an element of like imposter syndrome a little bit, you know, like you're a PT, but if someone asks you a question on like training, I didn't know everything at that point. And then nutrition, I didn't know everything at that point. Mindset, didn't know everything at that point. So it was just like a constant learning game from there, like learn about training, learn about biomechanics, learn about programming, learn about nutrition over the course of obviously like, you know, 3 years or whatever. COVID rolled around. Basically left the gym, opened up my own like little studio, I'm going to call it, even though I was just in a garage. Bro, like a three.
You had your own little PT studio. We'll call it that.
3x4 meter PT studio.
Yeah.
And I just kind of decked that out with some gear that I kind of accumulated over the 2 years of lockdown because we had it pretty bad in Australia. Mm-hmm. And then never went back to the gym. And around about when that second lockdown finished, and obviously like, you know, everyone was starting to kind of plan traveling. Yeah. I was like, I'd always wanted to travel and like live overseas. Didn't really know where or like when I wanted to go, but it was just in my mind. So I basically kind of gave myself like a 1 year timeline to be like, okay, like from where I'm at the moment, you know, I'm happy with my face to face. You know, I'm doing enough, I'm earning enough.
I like that.
I'm going to transition this into online. So it was like a slow burn basically to start suggesting to some clients, I'm like, hey, you know what, you know, you're seeing me like once a fortnight or something like that at the moment. Why don't you try hybrid, you know? So I'd have them like as a like half face-to-face, half online, where it's like they're paying a little bit more because obviously they're seeing me less frequently, but obviously like they're getting more in terms of the service or whatnot. So
that's online coaching versus PT in a nutshell, mate.
Yeah, so I was just trying to kind of like, I guess, you know, figure out what I was going to offer and how I was going to do it. And that was all obviously like a learning curve that I just kind of used that year to sort of, I guess, get on top of a little bit. Obviously it wasn't perfect by any means, but like kind of basically got to May last year. So I've only really been doing online work since end of May last year. Actually, no, since the start of May, not the end of May, end of April. Because I gave myself 1 month and all my clients 1 month to just give it like a red hot crack of online. And then obviously like I was going overseas. I think I went overseas. It was like the 9th of June last year or something like that, or the 13th of June.
When the fucking European trip began.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro. Yeah, because it's very interesting in terms of what you said there. Like you gave yourself quite a stringent time frame. Like 1 year to like completely remove yourself from one-to-one to online coaching is quite an intense time frame, to be fair. A lot of people come to me and say, oh, I've got a 3-year goal. I'm like, yeah, it's cool having patience, but if patience means that you aren't going to act upon your situation with urgency, then I'd rather you worry about failing and have urgency than have this long-term vision.
Yeah.
Like, you could have said to yourself, oh, I'm going to give myself 2 years. But you were like, nah, do you know what? You did it in 1 year. And did you do it in 1 year? So like, it was actually a full year.
Yeah, it was a good transition. It was really slow, but I gave my client, like a lot of my face-to-face clients, I was seeing still probably like 20-ish people like a week, still like a couple months out from leaving. But I had given them a heads up basically like 6 months prior that I was like, I'm stopping face-to-face altogether in May. So like they had a lot of heads up, but they it was up to them if they wanted to continue doing face-to-face at that point, which most of them did, because obviously I think they just liked coming and having a yarn for an hour. And then I was just
which is also why I stopped PTing.
Yeah.
That for me was probably the biggest frustration for PTing for me, when you essentially became a counsellor.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be listening to this going, they're a PT right now and they want to be able to do more with their clients, but the kind of clients that they have at the moment just want to have a chat, just want to bitch about their fucking husband, or just want to bitch about their current circumstances, just want to let off a bit of steam and train a little bit. And I wasn't really on board with that.
Well, the thing is too, like, if you have heaps of people that are having like a bad day or a bad week, all kind of
it spreads
paired on the same day,
it spreads.
Then
wildfire.
like you're just there, kind of
just digesting a bunch of negativity,
and the expectation from their end is like that you're just gonna kind of stand there and cop it, you know.
100%, bro. And it's like I actually had a point in time where this was very, very close from me, like completely packing in PT. Well, I literally said to some clients before they came in, right, we're gonna work. We're not gonna talk about this boyfriend. We're not gonna talk about this ex. And like, they actually preferred me saying that to them, because then they could be like, right, okay, cool. Because this is where I really, really understood the importance of actually establishing boundaries within your business. It was the first time I was exposed to that. Like, had I not sent that message to certain clients, I would have been going around the same revolving door of, oh yeah, this person and did this to me, blah blah blah. Oh, this was this on the night out, da da da. Like, I said to them, now cut the shit. You come in here to train, and then we can chat afterwards if you've got time. And they were like, yeah, fair enough, I like that. Yeah. So if anyone out there who has that, everyone's gonna have 1 or 2 or maybe 5 clients who love a natter, who just come in so you can stroke their fucking ego and make them feel better about their life circumstances. Honestly, if you tell them, oh, we're here to work, we're here to train, it'll actually benefit you. Because I think a lot of people don't realise how much they're just bitching and moaning during their PT session.
Nah, I don't think everyone's blissfully unaware.
They're like, oh, I trust this person, I'm paying him money.
Yeah. And
they're almost paying you, and they think because they're paying you, oh, I can just unload my shit like a dump truck. Yeah. It's like, brother, I'm a PT.
Yeah.
Not a counsellor.
I was going to use that metaphor, like it's literally just fucking unloading garbage.
Bro, it is,
like,
bro.
Yeah.
And they have the cheek at the end of a session to go, I feel so much better. Yeah. It's like, well, because it's not down to the fucking training.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're like, well, that's great. I feel fucking a whole lot worse.
Thanks for making my day a fucking shit one.
Yeah.
So you were doing the PT.
Yeah.
And then you went straight online as soon as you started traveling. Was that the transition?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did that go? How was the success rate for that?
Like, in terms of actually people transitioning to online from face to face, that was good.
Yeah.
But I think obviously hindsight's great, isn't it? But like, hindsight is like, I should have given myself more time to establish a few better systems before I went over to a place where the time zones completely flipped, and I hadn't honestly given that much thought because I'd never been on the other side of the world before.
This is such a fantastic topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that I knew had to be managed from the get-go. So I went from UK to Thailand, and then I went from Thailand to Bali, which is another further hour ahead from Thailand.
Yeah.
And you have to literally understand that you're not going to be able to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, to reply to somebody when their time is like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's impossible, right? So how do you manage that? Well, making sure that you communicate that with your clients and say, right, this is how it's going to work. But again, if you're fresh out of the box like you are, you're not going to have the tools in the tool bag to know how to communicate that, and also to know how to navigate your booking systems, navigate your check-ins. Because for you, you're going forwards, right?
Yeah.
So you're going backwards.
No, I was backwards.
You're going backwards, I'm going forwards, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's like readjusting your check-ins, readjusting your messaging response times, all this sort of stuff. And for somebody who's fresh out of the box, who's only just made the transition from PT to online, I can imagine it was a lot. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, like I had some good systems in place. Like I've a lot of my stuff's all done through Google. There's like a Google One membership, which basically has Calendly built into it. And
Interesting.
And I had
Google One.
Yeah, Google One.
I've never heard of that.
It's a godsend. It honestly ends up saving so much money. Like I used to have like Jotform to have like my T's and C's, like my online T's and C's be signed, and now you can just send like a Google Doc and it can get PDF signed.
Yeah, so I've got Google Doc. I use Google Doc for the
Calendly basically built like the Google version of Calendly built in with your Google Calendar.
Google Calendar, yeah.
So like that was all pretty handy, but that was just like normally I'm very systemized like with my life in general. So like I quite like obviously learning about systems and trying to figure out what better systems I can kind of put into the business because it makes my life easier. You know 100%. What I mean?
But it's about making your life easier, but also not sacrificing the value that the client gets.
Yeah.
And that's always the trade. And that's honestly probably one of the most common questions, common conversations I have with mentees is, okay, well, what upgrade are we going to make that allows you more time to have a life, but also doesn't decrease value?
Yeah.
And a lot of people get that so wrong.
I think most people sort of see it as like, okay, I've incorporated a better system now. I have more free time. It's more free time that I'm going to spend just not doing anything to benefit the business.
100%.
You know, you win back 4 hours in a week and it's like, well, that's great. But you
100%.
want to put two of those 4 hours back into the business, you know, rather than just like 4 hours all of a sudden you're going and getting a fucking massage for 4 hours a week.
And I've seen it happen loads of times where people work so hard to get their business to a certain point. They put a couple of wrong systems in place, starts tumbling like a Jenga block.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you put all the hard work in and it can just be eradicated by a couple of shitty decisions just by putting yourself first.
Yeah.
Like in a service-based industry, you have to put the people that pay you first.
Yeah.
That's got to be the first focus of your decision-making. And then you go, right, okay, can this benefit me in some way, shape or form? If it does, cool. So you do the online coaching full-time now.
Yeah.
And you said, so diabetes is obviously something that you have at the moment. Well, I say at the moment, you've had.
It's not going away. It's not going away anytime soon.
I fucking wish. Oh, it's fucking funny. At the moment, yeah, I'm fucking stuck with it, bro. It is what it is.
I'm addicted to insulin.
Yeah, it's just some fucking lousy addiction that he's got. He's not actually got an insulin desensitivity. So you've got diabetes.
Yeah.
When did you figure out and when did you find out that you had it, and how do you manage it?
Yeah, so I figured it out. So my dad has type 2, right?
Okay, so it's in the family.
Yeah, but type 2 and type 1 aren't interconnected. So the fact that he had type 2 didn't increase the likelihood that I was going to develop type 1, but the fact that he had type 2 was helpful, I guess, in terms of my diagnosis, just purely because not many people just randomly have a glucose monitor sitting in their house. But I think at the time my room was right next to my mum's room. My parents didn't sleep together because my dad snores like a fucking bull or like whatever animal you want to imagine snores really loud.
I used to be that guy.
Yeah, there you go. He snores like Steven.
Yeah, brother, bad. That's why one of the reasons why I packed in bodybuilding, mate.
Yeah.
Bro, when you get to like 280 pounds,
bit of sleep apnea.
Brother, you literally fucking sound like you're eating yourself. It's like, what's going on here? It's like you're fucking suffocating yourself, brother. Like, my girlfriend used to fucking like shove me out of the bed. She'd literally go into the other room, mate. Yeah. Like when we had a 4-bedroom house, mate, she would literally go into the other bedroom. Yeah. She was like, "Fuck this, man."
Yeah. Well, I mean, fuck. If you're anything like my dad, I wouldn't blame her, to be honest.
It's fucking shocking. Whenever someone would paparazzi me, and I was like, "Uh-oh." It sounds very loud.
Yeah.
Like iPhone fucking mics aren't the best. Yeah. So that picks you up, mate.
You got like the DJI or something.
You're breaking the decibels, bro. You're fucking loud.
Yeah.
So your dad had type 2, you've got type 1. Can you just quickly explain the difference between the two for the listeners?
The simplest way to think about it is like type 2 is more or less caused by lifestyle. Like there's no real simpler way to put it. There is some genetic tie-ins to type 2, like from what I know, like Islanders, for instance, are like one demographic that have a higher incidence of type 2. But type 1 is autoimmune. So most people have heard of autoimmunity in some way, shape or form. Like celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, hypothyroidism, autoimmune disease. Like it's basically just the same thing. So it's your body sort of attacking the cells within the pancreas that kind of secrete insulin. So there's something called beta cells. Basically just kind of attack those cells, and it's generally like a 5-year period of time. That's what the science-ish says. Not everyone's obviously 5 years, but like over that window of time, they basically kind of render all of those beta cells completely to nil, and then you're obviously you're diabetic from the time you get diagnosed, but you still have some beta cell activity until they call it the honeymoon period is over. And then that honeymoon period is basically where you kind of start to figure out what your rates and everything in terms of like your insulin injections are going to be for the majority of your life. But like, simply put, type 1 is like your body kind of attacking itself. Type 2, you basically cause it yourself.
Yeah, by eating shit and and basically damaging your pancreas to a point where it stops functioning how it should. Yeah. Very similar to how alcoholism affects your liver.
Yeah, like not non-alcoholic. There's obviously alcoholic fatty liver disease or whatever, and then there's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But yeah, or causes insulin resistance as well. Alcohol.
It basically stops the pancreas from doing its job.
Yeah.
And that's from that. So type 2 is from the lifestyle decisions. Type 1, you've got the ones from birth. That's not you.
No.
So you're the one that you just explained, the autoimmune, which is your cells being attacked to a point where that's degraded the pancreas.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, like, if someone is actually born with type 1 straight away. Like, obviously you're born with the genetic predisposition to having it, evidently, because obviously otherwise I wouldn't fucking get it.
Yeah.
But you know, like I just signed up another client the other day. She's had it since she was 12 months old. So she wasn't even conscious of the fact that she got diagnosed.
Do you think that's down to the time frame of diagnosis? What's your opinion on that? So like, let's say, you're telling me a client signed up and said she had diabetes from 12 months old. Like that's fucking straight out of the box, right? So what's the difference between her and say yourself?
Yeah.
Just the diagnosis, or is it the actual journey?
I think there's like, this is a bit of a can of worms, to be honest. I think there's like...
there's no other better person to be speaking about it than you, bro.
There's no true, I guess, there's no distinct way that they know how autoimmune diseases come about yet.
Okay.
They generally link it towards something... Like, you know, some doctors would tell some other person that has type 1 that I spoke to, he reckons that he had the flu, and then after the flu, he started to get sick, and then all of a sudden, you know, 4 weeks after he had the flu, when he got diagnosed, he had type 1. Wow. So that's one way that they think that autoimmunity occurs. It's like you just have something where your immune system sort of ramps up, and then in the process of your immune system ramping up, it starts to attack cells that it shouldn't be attacking. My hypothesis is, and this is based off a book I've read, but this is obviously a little bit of a conspiracy theory, I guess, if you want to say it, would be...
Well, we'll let conspiracy theories, they can run here, bro.
Yeah, so there's basically what I believe anyways, because it makes the most sense to me, but I guess, you know, having the level of knowledge that I do, is like there's 3 key reasons why autoimmunity develops. But basically everyone from the time that they're born is on the autoimmune spectrum. It's just whether or not you get to the point where you are actually like diagnosed with a proper autoimmune condition. Yep. So everyone has like a genetic weak point. Evidently mine was something like my pancreas. Yeah. I have this, what I think my other genetic weak point is my skin, because I have quite acne prone skin, just generally. But we won't bother touching too much on that. But I think like environment is a big one. So like obviously in this day and age, we're exposed to so many toxins, so many chemicals, you know, food environment. I think these are all drivers of like increasing levels of inflammation and whatnot. Intestinal permeability, which is basically just kind of like the degradation of the lining of your gut. Yep. because your gut is made of the same types of collagen that your joints and your ligaments are made of. So obviously, like, you know, over time as you get older, if you're putting a lot of strain on your tendons and your ligaments, they're going to degrade. And I think that obviously ties in with that whole like food environment.
So if obviously certain foods, certain processed foods specifically will obviously
if you're eating like dog shit all the time, like obviously that's not going to be good for the lining of your gut.
Yeah.
So those two, and then like the last one is genetics.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that saying, you know, genetics load the gun, but lifestyle choices pull the trigger.
Yep.
So I think that's honestly the way that I look at autoimmunity. So like I'm not going to sit here and say that my parents didn't look after me when I was like growing up or whatnot, or like that my diet should have been better, because it's not like I ate horribly, but you know, I guess obviously being the person I am now, I'm like, I could have eaten a little bit better. But like, you know, we would just obviously, you know, wouldn't avoid things like gluten and processed food, and we kind of used to eat like a fair share of that stuff. And I don't know, I do distinctly remember a period of time when I was about 8, which is like about 4 years before I got diagnosed, where my gut was like really, really crook, and I couldn't stomach most foods for a while. Like I had no appetite. And then obviously getting diagnosed.
Maybe that was the first sign of your body going, well.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So like considering that's a distinct memory, it's like, was that a little bit of a sign from my body to be like, you know, whatever you're kind of doing at the moment, or something that you're doing at the moment is just like not serving your health so much. And it's like, was that the point where if this is the spectrum, you know what I mean? I started to sort of climb my way up towards this being diabetes diagnosis, and maybe I'm like here. And then obviously, you know, 4 years later, it's just kind of like even what I was doing up until that point, it's just like progressed to the point where I got diagnosed.
Yeah. How do you manage it now?
I've got my little Tamagotchi here.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
By the way, that used to be a sick game. I used to play that all the time.
Yeah. The only difference though with this one,
I used to have an orange
is like if you don't feed it, I die. So
yeah, you're fucked.
Yeah.
that's like a if you let the battery run out, then the thing it's connected to will also run out of battery soon too. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah, which is not good.
No.
It's not what you want. But yeah, insulin pump.
Help as well, people.
So when I got diagnosed, I was actually due to go on a basketball tour in America about 9 months after I got diagnosed, or 10 months, 10.5 months, something like that. And I only did injections for the first 9 months after I got diagnosed, because their big push for me coming out of the hospital was to get me straight on the insulin pump, just to afford me a little bit more flexibility whilst I was in America.
Yep.
And I've never gone back. Ever since the time that I first attached my first insulin pump, I've never gone back, and I've never done an injection ever since. Probably never would either, to be honest. Like some people manage it with injections, I know, but like, fuck.
It's a handful though, isn't it? Because my coach, James, shout out my boy, he's probably listening to this. He developed diabetes. It was onset diabetes. I think we roughly had a conversation about this. Like in the UK, it sounds, but now you've explained how you got diagnosed, it sounds very similar. Like something that is brought upon you in some way, shape, or form. Yes, it might not be the autoimmune route, but the pancreas develops to the point where you need insulin to be exogenously injected for you to make sure that you break down the glucose. Now, he does the meal by meal injections.
Yeah.
And from a coaching point of view, for me, I have to be super, super on it to say, right, this is how many carbs you're having this meal, this is how many carbs you're having this meal, this is how many carbs you're having this meal. And then he will work out how much insulin he needs as per how much carbohydrate he intakes. Yeah. So you're not doing that. Yours is far less. Yours is more of a passive system.
It's still similar, because when I eat, like meal times, I have to get this thing out and physically go and punch in the amount of carbs that I'm eating, which is still going to administer like a certain amount of units of insulin. Yeah. So obviously, like I'd have different settings on this, and I could argue.
So your way of basically doing it is you don't physically put it in yourself, but you have the Tamagotchi, as we referred it to. Yeah. You basically tell it, I'm eating this much.
I'm having 95 grams of carbs.
That's very clever.
Yeah. So the only thing
is that a very, very accessible modality to cure diabetes, or is that something that you have to?
I mean, for the most part, like I think a lot more.
Sounds like a very good system.
A lot more people are pushing to get, you know, most diabetics on it, because I do think it affords more flexibility. Yeah. And even little things like, I mean, obviously talked about carbs there, but then you've got to consider like protein, you got to consider fats. Obviously, they slow down the rate of digestion.
Yeah.
Protein at some point gets turned into
I just
glucose as well.
yeah, bro. I wanted to stick to because like once you get into the nuance of it, bro, it's fucking.
But I mean, so the thing is with
I'm
injections,
just glad I don't have diabetes, mate, because it's a fucking headache.
The thing is with injections is like if you're gonna have a really high carb, high fat meal, you're probably gonna have to do several doses for the one meal.
Mad.
Whereas with this, you just have to do one dose, and you have two settings on it. You have either an extended bolus, or you have like something which is called a dual wave bolus, which so you can inject, say, 150 grams of carbs worth of insulin and do 50% up front immediately, and then let the remaining 50% pour in over a however many hour window you kind of want to select. So for fats, anywhere between 2 to 6 hours, really depending on who the person is.
How long did it take you to wrap your head around that system?
Like
what you just explained to me,
in terms of the actual knowing that fat digests at that rate and everything.
Like the way that you have just explained, like the setting that you would say for the 150 grams of carbs. How long did it take you to accurately figure out how much you needed for these meals and what?
Oh man, honestly, I wouldn't even say I figured it out.
Seriously,
I'd say I'm still figuring it out. Yeah,
crazy.
Because honestly, the thing is that's so fucking confusing about diabetes is like no 2 days are the same. So if we to celebrate this podcast today went and had a pizza, for all I know, I could accurately depict exactly what's going to kind of happen from a blood sugar standpoint, and then I could still be 100% time and range, and then nothing changes. We do a podcast tomorrow and we go and have pizza again to celebrate, like fat fucks.
Pizza's nice here, bro.
And then
I had some really nice pizza. We won't get into
and then all of a sudden, exact same insulin strategy, exact same duration that kind of insulin injects in over, and then all of a sudden I could have either a massive high or a massive low.
So what is that down to? Is that down to your glucose levels at the time of the pizza?
I think a lot of it has something to do with that. Obviously, there's movement, dehydration, insulin sensitivity.
Dehydration is a very good factor because that would obviously mean the
basically
just
more
transportation.
Basically, well, also that, but also just basically like sugar is going to be more concentrated in your blood as well. So, I mean, there's so many factors that would go into it.
Yeah, and man, I'm just thinking deep in it right now.
Yeah.
Understanding, obviously, my knowledge of nutrition.
Yeah. And then little things like, bro, could have one more coffee tomorrow, and because of the coffee,
that would change it.
Yeah, it could make you slightly more insulin resistant because of the cortisol.
Cortisol, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about
so I think this is what's funny, right?
And this is why you're a diabetic coach.
Yeah. So I thought you were about to say, this is why you're a diabetic. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
I just want to clarify. It is what it is.
But I mean, I had a mentor for about 2 years who was he's a functional doctor. And he's very people that are anti-coffee, he's very pro-coffee. He loves coffee. He loves all the health benefits that come into it. And he argues that coffee doesn't increase things like insulin resistance. If anything, it does the opposite. And it's that's what science says.
But maybe not coffee on its own, no, but the consequence of coffee. Yeah,
but also the thing is, anecdotally though, a lot of diabetics, myself included, have to put insulin in for coffee, even if it's just like a long black. It's got 0 net carbs.
You are fucking joking.
You got to put. Normally, most people, give or take, it's about 1 to 1.5 units for a black coffee. Some people, if they put in that though, they'd go hypo, they'd go low. So that's the thing. I can't sit here and be like, if you're a diabetic listening to this, then all of a sudden go put in 1 unit of insulin for a black coffee, because then someone's going to go and have a hypo, and they're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, 100%.
But
bro, what you've just said there is literally the caveat that I have to put anytime I recommend PDs.
Yeah.
It's the exact same sort of caveat where, right, this will work for somebody, but you can apply the exact same principles and you can apply the exact same dosages, the exact same amounts, but it will not work for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because everybody is so individual. And the diabetes thing is an extension of that, where everyone's pancreas is probably a different level of fucked. Right?
How did I know you were going to say that as soon as you start that sentence? But yes.
It's true, right? So, this is what I'm saying. So, you have to, it's not necessarily take what you're saying specifically with a pinch of salt, just apply the nuance of the situation and go, right, everyone's pancreas is a little different level of fucked. So
Well, I mean, so that's the thing. When I put out posts on Instagram, I've got to give these really broad ranges.
Very caveated, isn't it?
You know, like yesterday, just for example, like we were talking about high carb, high fat meals. I put a post out, and I had to say like it's between 2 to 6 hours that someone, depending on the person, could like see a second spike in their blood sugar because of having a high fat meal.
But if we're talking about 2 to 6 hours, bro, that's enough time to have 2 meals.
Yeah, well, I know that's the thing. So like I could, for instance, I would say that mine's probably closer to that 6 hour window. Like I've obviously, I would say that I'm pretty well drilled in with all that stuff. I'd say that I'm about 4.5 to 5 hours, give or take, more often than not. So I had sushi last night, about 18 pieces of sushi. It's like almost 180 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
Fair bit of fat there as well. And my blood sugar before was like 4.1. 2 hours later was 8. And then this morning was 7.9. So like nailed it perfectly with what I did with my insulin dosing last night. So like I did like a fair bit up front because it was like slightly higher carb, even though there was still a relatively high amount of fat. And then like let basically the remaining 55% of that initial dose trickle in over 5.5 hours post meal.
5.5 hours.
Yeah.
So people listening to this right now, this is why you need a diabetic coach. Because that's making my brain frazzled. I'm listening to him, and I'm a very intellectually switched on kind of person, right? And I'm like, oh, fucking hell, that sounds like a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of nuance, a lot of caveats, a lot of individualized scenarios. And that is why, if you are diabetic and you need somebody who understands diabetes, and your bodybuilding coach or your lifestyle coach ain't quite cutting it right now, you need to be DMing my boy. So...
Exactly, slide in the DMs.
Nice little advertisement there. So we're both living in Bali right now.
Yep.
Talk to me about how living abroad, living in Bali, and being an online coach has suited you. The pros and cons. I got a smile on your face, so run me through it a little bit, brother.
We'll start a bit more sensible, eh? No, honestly, like I think the big thing for me is I've just been so much more productive since I got
Productivity is one thing that I feel tripled here.
It's through the roof. Because obviously the thing is for me back at home, it's like my circle of friends, like they're still, they're all doing well, but we obviously all do slightly different things.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that I look at it anyways is like that saying where it's like you don't want to be like a big fish in a small pond, you'd rather be a small fish in a fucking huge one.
That's what I say all the time.
And back at home, I just felt like, I guess in terms of the people that I was kind of surrounding myself with, I was the big fish for the most part. And it's like, you just feel less inspired, I guess, in terms of like trying to make changes and make adjustments to like better the business.
Yep.
And obviously if the business isn't getting better, then obviously like things like income, like although they're not the most important metrics at the end of the day, like you got to make money. You know what I mean? You got to expand the business.
You have to afford the lifestyle that you live in.
And then also too, if you're making more money, it's more money that you can reinvest back into the business as well. Obviously get better results, get better systems, get better whatever. Obviously look after the clients better too.
Yep.
I think last time I was here, I noticed a big improvement, like in terms of just like productivity, and then obviously like meeting the right people, kind of surrounding myself with the right people that were doing better than I was. And it was like, this is cool. Like you're hanging out with people that are doing so much better than I am.
Is that specifically an online coaching, or is that just
for the most part, like with online coaching, like obviously there are people that you come across here. I feel like there's like 4 or 5 main jobs here. You probably agree.
Yeah.
Where it's like either online coach, online marketer, OnlyFans,
graphic designer, OnlyFans.
Yeah. We've got to chuck the OnlyFans in there because there are so many fucking people here.
Nah, brother, you can spot them from a mile away. When some itty bitty little 5'2" thing's got a BBL and a fucking boob job, that's not an online coach, brother.
That's just. Or maybe.
Yeah, I doubt it, brother. They may say they're an online coach, but if you look at their link tree, yeah, brother, it's pinging off with 18s crossed out, blah blah blah.
Yeah, the little chili emoji.
Sign up to my page.
That's basically the people I'm hanging out with. It's just the OnlyFans.
Just a bunch. I mean, look, if it makes money, it makes sense, brother. That's what I would say.
But yeah, like so, hanging out with mainly like other coaches, but then also meeting people, I guess, that would, having them as a contact or having, meeting contacts through them is also going to benefit the business, whether it's like a photographer or, maybe they're someone that does something like marketing or business strategy and like, all right, let's go have a coffee. Let's have like a little bit of a chat. And then you go have a coffee, have a chat, you kind of tell them about your business and they kind of like, they give you a few words of advice, but it's like, it's just kind of like over coffee. It's not super, super formal.
Do you know what it is? It's those few words of advice, right? That are so crucial for someone like me because I've got so much running through my head. And sometimes it can be that piece of advice that just nudges me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then I will do the rest. And it's like, yes, it could be a coffee and yes, it could be a couple of sentences, but that is something that I'm simply not exposed to in the UK. And if you are around those people in the UK, and you're probably going to say the same in Australia, the people that you're surrounded with that are successful don't want to share their success. They're very guarded. They're very closed off. They don't want to give you the golden nugget that they know because they think that you're going to then overtake them. And it's a terrible mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas places like Bali, I was literally having a conversation with Ben at Open House. I've now got his WhatsApp and I want to get him on the podcast. And obviously he owns the cafe that's around the corner. We'll probably go after this, to be fair. And we were having this same conversation. And it's like, he literally said, I don't give a shit if we, on prima facie, are competition. I will scratch your back and I will help you if I can help you. And that mentality is so like non-existent in the UK and sounds like, from what he was saying,
it's pretty non-existent.
In Australia as well. And I don't know why, but that's fundamentally one of the main reasons why I've made the switch to Bali is because I know the people are out there that will divulge in that information. And it's not like, I don't want to say that we're going to these places and I'm going to these places begging it. I'm just having conversations. I'm bringing what I know to the table, and that's then opening up a certain topic of conversation.
Yeah.
And then that's when you get the golden nuggets, and that's when you get the piece of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm not saying that you should be on a one-man mission to come to Bali and try and get people's advice. You have to know what the fuck you're talking about in the first place. You can't just come here with £1,000 saved and like try and find loads of golden nuggets that's going to take your business to the next level. Like, you have to come here knowing what you're doing in the first place, because otherwise people are going to not have those conversations with you in the first place.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I mean, like, fuck, there are so many people here that are kind of like those, it's like the people that you get in your message requests all the time where it's like, I'm a business coach, 7-figure business coach, and they've got like 2 followers, and you're like, you're not a 7-figure business coach. But instead of them sliding into your DMs, they just talk to you in person, so it's even fucking worse.
Yeah,
because you can't escape them.
It's weird, bro. Like, a lot of people, I've seen it so often, like, a lot of people do come here expecting, like, Bali to be Dubai and expecting there to be all this massive network. Bali's a small place.
Yeah.
A lot of people know the same people. The circles are quite small, so you have to be in the circles in the first place or in and around them. You can't just come here and go, I'm just going to go to this place, that place. It's not really how it works. And I don't think networking is how that works in general.
Yeah.
So it's good. It sounds like we're on the same page there, where it's more that productivity, that access to different types of individuals, but working within the same field.
Yeah.
So in terms of other areas of Bali, what would you say you enjoy the most? What other areas of Bali would you say you enjoy?
Oh, yeah.
This one's a very open-ended question.
I think I know where you want me to take it, so...
You take it where you want to take it.
I think the best thing about this place is I feel like it's where a lot of good-looking people gather as well, you know what I mean?
Well, okay, we're going there.
Yeah, so...
He's a good-looking chap.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, I think one thing that's good about this place is, like, you almost earn a little bit of fun because you end up being so much more productive. That's the way that I look at it.
100%.
And the thing that I've also noticed here too, in terms of, I guess, like relationships, not with women, but more
in general.
with people.
Can be
that
with
meet.
women, can be with gay people, can be with transgender, can be with men.
With whoever. It's like,
Down
it's all pretty transient, but like at the moment, most of my mates that live in Bali, they've gone over to either Europe or they've gone back home. And, like I just said goodbye to a pretty good mate of mine the other day who just went back to the UK.
Who was that? Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah, so like people like that, like they're obviously good people to be around. But then I guess when they go, it's like all of a sudden, you've obviously got like a few less people to hang out with, which is not bad because at the end of the day, there's a good productivity trade-off there.
Yep.
But I think the thing is then it's like, all right, I am doing a lot more work. I kind of want to enjoy myself. So then it's like, all right, who do I fill the free time with? And I think that's one thing that I like about Bali. It's quite easy to sort of network with the opposing sex.
Yeah, especially with the gyms.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, with the gyms, obviously, like, look, I'm just going to give you my observation. There's a lot of women that just come here and dot about and do their thing.
Yeah.
And like the confidence of these women as well.
I think that's what I was going to
get onto.
Very rare. That's what I was going to get onto.
Very unique, brother.
Yeah.
And like, I don't see that anywhere else. Like, I've been to Dubai.
Yeah.
Maybe on the same level, but brother, some girls come here, mate, and they're just putting it all out there.
Yeah.
Laying it on thick, bro.
Yeah.
Factor 50.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's one thing, but I think honestly another thing for me is that they're just not as cold, compared to the women back at home.
Yeah, they're a lot more open.
Which is like, I think that the thing is, I don't want to sound like I'm coming on this podcast talking about like all I want to do is chat with women and, whatever. Like,
bro, at the end of the day, you're a man, you've got needs. We all have needs.
That, but then also, at the end of the day, like the way that I look at things, and I think this is why I had a few run-ins in previous relationships, is like, if I want to be friends with a chick, like purely just friends, then like there's nothing, I guess, wrong with that as well. But then also, obviously chick, to be fair, fuck, if I had a missus and she had
Do you know what the thing is though? Let's talk about that quickly. I've always had the very, very strong stance of like, bruv, like, women and men can't be friends. There's no way that there's the platonic relationships that people talk about. Because at some point, I was having this conversation with someone the other day, right? At some point, either the girl or the man in this platonic scenario wants to fuck the other person.
One, yeah.
Brother, there's always one overlap.
I was kind of thinking about that as I was saying it, because I was recalling a conversation with a bird
from
the UK, and she said this whole thing about like purely platonic relationships being more prevalent in the UK, and I think at the time we didn't have a platonic relationship by any means.
Brother, I think
and
honestly,
I'm like, I'm sort of thinking like, we're friends, but at the same time we're obviously not friends because we're a level above that.
You always got to think about it like this, yeah. Yes, you can be friends with someone, but if somebody in that scenario picks up the phone and says, "Right, what are you doing tonight?"
Yeah,
that's always the bubble. That's always the acid test, bro.
Yeah.
And I always have this conversation with some girls, and I say, right, you're friends with this person. If you rang him tonight and said, right, I want you to come round, brother, he's taking an X-Max to the next destination and he's popping round.
Yeah.
Like, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
And females have this proper delusion going, oh yeah, they're not interested. Brother, if you're a good-looking girl and you've got a good-looking geezer that you're talking to and you're both single, trust me, the thought process has 99.99% at some point crossed the male's mind.
Yeah.
That's just the male side of things.
It's just a bit of a...
Let's not even talk about the female side of things.
It's like a long game sort of thing. Even
it's always the long game.
Even if you are hanging out a couple of times before anything happens, it's like there is probably a little bit of direction behind what you're trying to do.
I mean, look, mate, we don't want to waste our time here, do we?
Yeah.
Especially if you're single.
Yeah.
Time is money, bro. And like, if you're relaxing, let's go back to the very, very simple. Like, we could go off on tangents here, but let's go back to like the very reason, like what you said at the beginning, or beginning of this section, shall we say? You're looking to unwind. Now, I know you don't even have to explain it. You're not going to be unwinding with somebody you have no arousal towards or no sexual interest in. Because that would be a waste of time if you're single. That would be a waste of time if I was single.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, cool. You might be in the date at a time and realise, fuck me, this woman is chatting my fucking ears off. Can you please just put a sock in it? But that is in hindsight, right? We all have intentions, right, to begin with, So then you have to figure that shit out when you cross that bridge and you get to it, right? But, like I said, platonic relationships, all this, but we're all here for a good time, bro. Here for a good time, not a long time, mate. So you do you.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing about being single, mate. Is that that's the trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you're not guaranteeing sex on tap. You're not guaranteeing that loving dynamic with a woman. But you have yourself accessible to who's on the market. And in Bali, it's a
big market.
Fucking big market. It's a different setup, bro.
It's a big market.
It's
pretty much just like Tinder in real life.
That's mad.
That's the way that I look at it.
Tinder in real life is a mad shout, bro.
Yeah.
So you're saying to me right now that Bali is like Tinder in real life?
Yeah.
That easy?
Oh.
Serious?
Yeah, I guess you could say
That's
that.
wild.
Like, you'd be surprised.
Well, obviously, I'm not in the fucking circle, mate, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll keep myself to myself, mate, but that's wild, bro.
Yeah. Like, I've just been in some funny scenarios, you know what I mean? Like, some just, like, very, like, straight out of a movie scene sort of scenarios. Not like a porn movie or anything.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, in terms of, like, driving past a chick on the street and, like, we both lock eyes with each other. And then all of a sudden I'm
How romantic.
I'd never probably see this bird ever again. So I'll just like do a 180 on the scooter, go back. And then she's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you turned around. And then like we end up having a yarn and then just go from there.
Yeah, that's mad though.
Whereas like, you know, I wouldn't, if I looked at a chick back in Australia and like we kind of locked eyes with each other, it's like, if I did go back around, which I probably wouldn't more often than not anyways, like I'd probably just get blocked anyways, like just nah.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? They're far more open-minded, I would say. Open-minded is the key term there. So if you're somebody who is an online coach and you're single as fuck, come to Bali.
Networking.
I can wingman you. If Lockie's still here, then you can go on a double date.
Yeah, I was about to say. That's
Geezer
exactly what I was going to say.
Geezer needs a fucking support act. You know what I mean? Robin Hood and Batman. Do you know what I'm saying? So that is a genuinely perfect time to end this episode. We fucking cranked through 1 hour and 10 minutes, mate. Fair play.
Yeah.
I like this podcast. This one was good because we've just fucking gone off on... We've covered a lot here, bro. I mean, we've covered your coaching, your diabetes, Bali, Amsterdam, physiotherapy, PTing.
Mate, we went all around the world with that
Bro,
one.
that's fucking sick. And that's exactly why I love the podcast. So, thank you very much for everyone who's listening. I don't even know that camera's on anymore. But this will be available on YouTube, on Spotify. All you have to do is type in the Physique podcast or type in Steam Physique. How can people find you, my man?
Only on Instagram, not OnlyFans, but you can
Not yet.
You can find me. Trainer Trowell is the Instagram. I'll spell out my last name because it tends to be a tough one. But trainer is the same way you'd spell personal trainer. Trowell, Trowell. Trowell.
T-R-O-W
E-double-L.
E-double-L.
Trowell.
Wow. Trowell.
Not Trowell. Trowell.
Trainer Trowell.
Very Australian. Trainer Trowell.
Trainer Trowell. Thank you very much for your time today, mate.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah, bro, I've enjoyed this one. So, that is it for today's episode. Like I said, catch us on all the available platforms. Give my boy a follow, especially if you are somebody who suffers from diabetes. And if you are looking for somebody who's a diabetic online coach, he's your boy. Thank you very much for listening, my people. This has been the Physique Podcast.
Thank you.
That was good, that was.